thanks to all of the guests that we have here. I'll run through a bit about your profiles and the projects you're representing as well in a moment. I think we can kick off now. So welcome all as well in terms of listeners here. It's good to see so many faces in the spaces. So this is another edition in our series of AMAs at Sheesha Finance, and actually a debut for Twitter Spaces. It's an exciting one. I've definitely been looking forward to it, and it's about building a community in the crypto jungle. Something Sheesha has been fostering with high potential crypto startups and early stage investors. The projects you see here are all projects that we're involved with and associated with. I'm Youssef Fanous. I'm Head of Business Development and Marketing here at Sheesha Finance. And this week we are hosting a special edition, as mentioned, with four of our most promising partner projects. Joined here by Jesse from Splinterlands, Shara Senderoff from Altered State Machine, Colin Fitzpatrick from Animal Concerts, and Emin Vali from Metafluence. So to kick things off, I'll take a bit of a deeper dive into these four amazing projects and our esteemed guests, starting with Splinterlands. So Splinterlands is the world's most popular decentralized app with over 4 million daily blockchain transactions and 400,000 active users. The gamified platform revolutionizes a timeless gaming classic. Players collect trading cards as NFTs and can earn SPS tokens whilst competing in PvP matches online. Play-to-earn gaming is only made possible through blockchain, and Splinterlands delivers this earning potential to all players in a generous way, regardless of their skill level. Blockchain-based gaming is forecasted to take over the entire gaming industry at some point, we all hope, as play-to-earn mechanics are attracting an increasing number of gamers. Splinterlands is a pioneer of this space, which we'll dive into later on during this spaces. Also joined by Altered State Machine, and Shara Senderoff is CEO there. ASM solves a key problem of aspiring NFT projects, making it easy for users to create programmable NFTs. ASM serves independent platforms such as in gamified DeFi and other blockchain-based utilities. NFI, so non-fungible intelligence, is the core service provided by Altered State Machine, and our partner project provides an accessible method of creating custom-built NFTs designed to interact with the blockchain automatically. We do have Animal Concerts here as well, and Colin Fitzpatrick, who's the CEO. And Animal Concerts is revolutionizing the way of how we experience live events. With a platform you can jump straight into, a digitally rendered concert, and see your favorite artist perform. With metaverse development growing rapidly, immersive digital worlds are getting even more expansive and are being applied to all sorts of industries and leisurely activities. Animal Concert sends you through a digital portal, and on the other side, you can see famous musicians and mesmerizing live shows, all of which we will get into as well during this spaces. You can jump in with your friends and enjoy live events like you've never seen them before, and that's Animal Concerts. Last but not least, we've got Emin Vali here, CEO of Metafluence. And Metafluence quickly, as a high level, connects online brands directly with their fans, allowing social media influencers to monetize their following while organizing special metaverse events. Platforms and brands that have a big following can purchase their very own area of the digital world and customize it specially for their fan base. Whether it's a professional artist showcasing some of their best work as NFTs or an Instagram brand looking to meet up with their followers, then Metafluence can connect them all. Through programmable metaverse real estate, the possibilities in Metafluence truly are endless as social media becomes a central part of everybody's lives. They build closer relationships with their favorite online personalities. I hope I've given you all of your flowers in terms of projects and really what you deserve as pioneers in the space, but please do feel free to build on or make any corrections as required. And I do apologize if I've mispronounced anyone's name across the way. So is there anything, Colin, Jesse, Emin, or Shara you'd like to add there?
Colin got dropped for a second, and he just requested to speak. If you could add him back in.
I can indeed.
No, I thought you did a nice job. This is Aggro. Thanks for representing our company well. And yeah, we're a trading card game where players can buy cards using the battle and earn cryptocurrencies when they win matches. So thank you.
Perfect. Thanks there, Jesse. So I'm sure everyone's getting bored of my voice now as well. So I want to give the real stars of the show the floor, especially when it comes to crypto marketing. It really is a jungle out there. So let's kick off with the backbone of any successful project, which is the community. The first question is around community is mentioned, and we've all experienced the difficulties of starting this from scratch and having a plethora of directions and options to choose from. For our audience listening here and those interested, perhaps even in starting their own projects, it would be good to hear which platforms you think are best suited to crypto, Web3 or NFT communities if we want to get granular. And what are some of the best ways to bridge that gap between having 0 members to having a few hundred active members into the thousands? Given it's jungle themed, animal concerts, and Colin, if you'd like to kick that off, maybe.
Sure, guys. Hope you're well. I'm having some really weird audio issues, so apparently I apologize if I lose you. Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, I suppose there's no surprise here that, the obvious ones are Telegram, Discord, and Twitter. That's kind of where everything happens. We do get some sort of, traction on Instagram, and, there's a Facebook and a YouTube, but, it's primarily those three. And that's where I would definitely advise people to focus. Getting from the 0 to 100, yeah, it's a tricky one, but I think the main thing is basically collaboration. There's enough people out there in the space that you can do sort of giveaways and get mentions and things like that. As I'm sure we'll talk a little bit later about the likes of influencers and stuff, you got to be very, very careful with these. But just for the point of getting your first view, there's plenty of people out there who want to find new hidden gems, or maybe people who are trying to get their community up, and we'll sort of do some free promotion, etc. But you got to put some efforts behind it. I really would say that there's a couple of decent accounts out there who we worked with to get ours launched in the beginning. We did some giveaways, we did some competitions. They always really help until you get some organic growth going. And at the end of the day, just posting quality content is really the best way to get a following.
For sure. Yeah, quality content and giving back to the community fundamentally is they're the ones making sure that the projects do succeed. Thanks, Colin. Is there anything that anyone else wants to build on there? Jesse, maybe?
Yeah, I think he's totally right. Discord, Telegram, you got to break the fourth wall with your user base. It's no longer just I will tweet at the people that are buyers. It's now like I will engage community members. Parts of that are giveaways, parts of that are raffles, parts of that are contests, and having sort of like a steady stream of real things real people can do to interact with you. So everything the last speaker said, I think, was spot on. And the one other thing I'd add is having really good support. So in the world of bringing in new people, you kind of have hunters where you're gathering new customers, and you have farmers that are helping to grow the base that you have. And you need both to be functioning well. And the way that you kind of farm or just keep your current users happy and engaged is you have a really strong support team. So if you want somebody to buy again, you got to make sure that it's easy and that they have whatever support they need.
Absolutely, Jesse, and some fantastic points raised there. I think it's not just about the growth, but it's about actually having the engagement when you do get people in, for sure. Fantastic, thank you. Shara, is there anything from your side in Altered State Machine?
Yeah, sure. I will add, and I also want to just chime in with quick, not correction, but just want to be clear. I am an advisor, partner, investor to Altered State Machine, joined very, very early. The company is founded by Aaron and David McDonald, who are brothers and geniuses, and is run by David day to day. I've worked very closely with them from the first minute that they went out. I was a seed investor, thought what they were doing was absolutely brilliant. And just to chime in on what everyone said, and I think everyone is experiencing this relating to platforms where they communicate with their community. And we've certainly found the same especially when you're trying to distill an incredibly sophisticated part of technology or a protocol like Altered State Machine. You have to be able to find the platforms that allow you to communicate a message very simply. And I think what we're going to see over the next year is the rise or the fall of platforms that don't make that possible and easy. And I think Discord is an amazing example of a platform that we saw kind of take an accelerated lead because it was the place where gamers were. And so from a community and gaming and interaction standpoint, it became a tool that had a decent amount of early features to be able to segment and communicate around different topics. But I think that as we move into the rise of Web3 becoming more mainstream, Discord is going to become a platform that is not conducive because the average user gets confused, lost. It's really complicated. And so I think that when you're thinking about how you want to communicate with your community, you really have to segment into what you're trying to communicate and what platform is best to get that across, and have different strategies for each platform and consider the features that they offer and why you're using something, and be open to being able to disseminate your message across multiple platforms at any given time in different ways.
I agreed there, Shara, and apologies for
No worries
the
at all.
corrections needed at the top. So thanks for getting that out there. Agreed. You've touched on something very important there. It's not just about kind of growth and then engagement, but also understanding your audience, right? And Discord tends to be more of a home for those interested in gamify and NFTs. And yes, they have a whole wealth of features, but I even find it, and we're in the space that sometimes it's easy to get lost. So clear communication and a clear message that really resonates with the audience is important as well. Thank you there, Shara. Emin from Metafluence, it'd be great to get your thoughts on this.
Thank you very much. Thank you, speakers, for valuable insights. Quickly told, our job is influencer marketing for the last 6 years, and we have been running different campaigns for different brands across the globe through the influencers. And when we were coming up with our idea of creating a metaverse city as Metafluence, where the key drivers will be influencers and the brands, we carefully selected first with which influencers we will cooperate in the first stage. And our main priority there was the literacy level of the influencers in the metaverse space. So, how educated is the influencer? How authentic he can build the communication, understand the platform that we are building, and deliver it to his or her audience. So, for that reason, my first recommendation would be the audience and engagement levels are important for the influencers, but the main criteria is that how influencer is understanding your product. Is he or she excited with the product? And it is very important that the marketing manager or CEO, also top people of the company, directly talk with the influencer, inspire him, and make sure that you are in the same boat, and to make sure that the influencer understands the whole the business idea and can authentically deliver the message. So that's first thing. The second thing is that in our case, we made a strategy that in the first stage, we will attract the industry experts, and not like mass influencers, but the people who know the space very well. And it will not take a lot of energy to educate them. So they're already educated and even more educated than we are. So where are these people? Or they are all in LinkedIn. So we currently we are heavily focusing on LinkedIn for bringing the innovators, for industry experts, bringing in industry experts, potential investors on board, making them try our platform, make private events in our metaverse, and feel and share the real experience. So, to summarize, the key thing for me as CEO of Metafluence is the authenticity. So, whatever we do, it should be sincere, it should be direct, it should be the people that we are cooperating should understand and authentically deliver the message. Yeah, and the quantity, the number of the people is the second priority. The first priority is the value of the communication. Yeah.
Agreed. And from my mind, growth is fantastic, but it is about the engagement and delivering the right message to actually get them into understanding and interacting well with the project. So some great points raised there: collaboration, kind of giveaways and raffles, and ensuring that there are things that are giving back to the community effectively, as well as making sure you choose the right platform. Emin, thank you. We're going to dive into influencers and potentially the impact of them a bit later in this call as well.
Yeah.
We've spoken about growth, and we did touch on engagement to a degree, but it'd be great to get some key tips, I suppose, or what's worked well for all of you throughout the journey of trying to promote a valuable and healthy community discussion. As mentioned, numbers in terms of growth are great, but sometimes they can be vanity metrics. It's really about the value added. So it'd be great to get some thoughts there. Colin, I see you're unmuted.
Oh, sorry, apologies. I didn't know you were talking to me. Yeah, it's a tricky one. This, I mean, just your question around people like influencers and stuff. A lot of projects go on hype, which is unfortunate more than their actual product. But it's one of these necessary evils. I mean, we had some success and some, challenges with influencers, but it's one of those chicken and egg situations. You've got to get your project name out there. How are you going to do it? And you've got to get the community talking about you. I think, like we talked about a few minutes ago, you've got to have high quality content that your audience is really interested in. You got to be completely transparent, and you got to be answering them and talking to them in the manner that they are comfortable with and they want to know, but is congruent with your message. Now, when you look at some of these influencers, I don't know if anyone has had sort of as much experiences as some of my team. Some of them are quite difficult to deal with, and you don't necessarily see the payback for the incredible amounts of money some of these guys charge. But they do bring the eyes onto you, but you got to back it up with significant more content and credibility going forward. So, I mean, when we look at what you need to do in terms of building your brand and your marketing strategy, I think, is it more important the product itself? I would say no. I think your product speaks for everything. Depending on what your product is, you need to have a consistent rollout and calendar of events and announcements. And that's a really, really hard thing for a crypto project, because a lot of us are head down trying to build, and we can't necessarily announce things every week. But the crypto community can be brutal in their expectations of what you announce. And it's really managing that can be the most difficult thing.
Sure, you raised some really good points there, and the reason we've titled this "The Crypto Jungle" is because the community, especially in this space, can be brutal. I mean, it's a gift and a curse, right? They put you under pressure on occasion, but typically, if you curate it the right way, they do have some valuable insights And sometimes it can be hard to hear, but it's good if you take that on board and kind of develop your product or project around this feedback. So some fair points there. And I'm 50-50 if I give my opinion on influencers. I think it really depends on what type of influencer, and something Emin mentioned earlier, which is, do they actually have buy-in for your product or project, or is it just a cash grab for them? So really doing some due diligence there on the influencer and how interested they are in actually working with you as a project.
Hey, one of the things that we do
please.
in Lands is we do AMAs every single week. So this solved a couple different problems. You know, we needed to get information out. Our users were asking us questions all the time, and it was really hard to answer questions around the clock. So we consolidated everything into one town hall. We do like an hour of just us presenting. We do an hour of trying to take questions from the community, and this is a way to sort of the influencers are there to sort of help you digest what's going on. Yeah, they're there to add hype, but they're also there to like help you explain what the company is doing or what the product's doing. So the kind of AMA calls are a little bit of like that being your own influencer. It's a little bit like engaging the community for the last question and the marketing of things. And then it's like it's a way to not necessarily have to pay those like pretty ridiculous fees, but then get the benefits of the explanations and talking about it and sharing that information. So that was one thing that has saved us a ton of time and has been really, really well received by our community, just doing a weekly AMA.
Sure. And that's even why we're bringing you guys together now. We definitely see value in it, and that can save you a whole heap of time and costs and everything too. I think that to note, although I said I'm 50-50 on influencers, I think that to note, if you get the right influencer who knows how to engage with their community and they have a particular way and tone of getting that message across, that's easy for them to understand, then I do genuinely see some value there too. But I don't think they should necessarily be standalone items or full reliance on influencers. And Jesse, you raised a fantastic point there about actually taking control yourself and letting your community get engaged directly from the project and those running it. So some fantastic points there. Shara, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I wanted to add on something that Jesse just said, which I think is really, really important and a lot of people kind of disregard, which is that you truly are your own influencer when you're building in this space. All of us here, whether we are launching projects or a part of projects or holders of projects, we're all part of the creation of obviously the next version of the internet. And what that means is that we are completely combusting and changing the rules and bending the rules and rewriting the rules for what will become as far as how a business gets built. And I think sometimes we disregard our ability and we forget the fundamentals, and the fundamentals of what we're doing in Web3 are no different than building a traditional business. You need to find the true value exchange between a product and the consumer, product market fit. You need to be able to tell your story transparently, and obviously that's a pillar we are all planting our flags in and believers in. And you have to be able to, in order to do that, you have to be transparent about what you're doing. So I think a lot of times when and Colin made the great point that you have to have a lot of content, you have to have a roadmap of content, and that's often hard. It's hard because we kind of forget the ways that it can be easy, and some of those ways are showing behind the scenes, being truly transparent about what you're doing, and like Jesse just mentioned, getting on and just talking about what it is, giving your community a view into your day to day, what your struggles are, even the things that you're doing to be your own influencer. Because what I've seen, especially I can speak to it with Aaron and David McDonald around Altered State Machine, and Aaron obviously is a co-founder of Futureverse with me as well, and the founder of Fluff World. when Aaron puts himself out there to speak about what he's doing and problems he's solving and how he's thinking about things, the community is incredibly excited and engaged because we want to hear the minds in the business talking about how they're solving problems. And I think a lot of communities try to go get other influencers and forget that you're your best influencer. And then just to add one final point to that, growth and numbers, you don't need to go from 0 to 1,000. You can go from 0 to 10 and 10 to 20 and 20 to 100. And that's the best way, is to take one step at a time. Don't try to spend the money you have on getting someone who has 1 million followers because you think they're going to get you 1 million followers. Remember, you don't need 1 million followers. You have a business if you can go from 0 to 10 to 100 to 500. That's how you build a sustainable business.
Yeah, I love a lot of the points actually raised there by all of you. Being your own influencer for sure. Taking one step at a time is key. And yes, we've seen the projects that have been hyped up and meme coins that have kind of propelled into success overnight, but then they're gone the next day. And I think the key there, Shara, around building one step at a time and sustainably is to do it for the long term and do it in the right way. I think the benefit of doing it one step at a time too is you learn, you adapt, you change, you hear your community, you can bring out new initiatives and make sure that you're really maximizing what you do when you do it that way, as opposed to kind of building the bridge underneath you as you run across it. So all great points there. I want to move on to something else which we've touched on briefly at the top of the conversation, which is partnerships. In your experience, and this is to all of you, what are the main benefits that come from forming partnerships, and in what ways does it impact both your project and your community? Emin, I think given the influencer platform, that might be a nice segue for you to discuss with partnerships involved as well.
Yeah, before Joe talking about that, I would like to add something to what Shara told. That not only founders or CEOs should be influencers, but the whole team should be the main influencers of the project. So, what we are trying to do in our team, like it's not like 100% compulsory, but we are motivating our team to be active in social media, to be active in communication with the audience. So it is very, very crucial converting the team members into the influencers of the company. That's what I would like to add in the start. Regarding the partnerships, there was, when we joined the crypto space, we got a lot of requests from different companies that let's make partnership, just announce our partnership, and that's it. So we will then decide what we will do together. But since we were coming from traditional startups, for us it was very important that with which companies we will make partnerships and what we will do in reality. So if we don't see any perspective in partnerships, we just don't announce it. We say that, guys, you are good guys, but if you need any advice, etc., we can give. But if there is no perspective of partnerships, so we shouldn't announce it. And in our case, what we do now, for example, we are doing it with our solution partners, with our investors, and other partners. We are dedicating them a Meta Hut. It is a private space, private residence in our city, and we are bringing their audience to that Meta Hut for private events. So we don't only announce the partnership, we actually do things. So we do private events together and ask people's opinion about our project, involve them in co-creation process, and do maximum that our team members talk to each other, exchange their views, and we have currently very good cooperation going on with the Ready Player Me, and we are giving them some ideas they're implementing, and we're getting ideas from them, and soon we will start making private events with them. So I think the startup company should have a model of partnership and have a process of partnership. So what we do with the partners, what kind of audience engagement we do. So we need their audience, they need our audience, but how we do. So while experimenting different models, I think startup we should come up with unique models that is implemented with each partnership that created and run.
Agreed. And being is such a nascent industry, everyone's trying to kind of collaborate and partner with with everyone. And we found it ourselves at Sheesha as well, actually, that they want to just get their name out there, but fundamentally behind some of that is there's not a genuine way to connect with the respective communities. And I mean, something you've touched on there is you've actually implemented these partnerships into the core of what your offering is.
Exactly.
Which is super valuable. Colin, I'm jumping to you here because I mean you've got some massive names there, and from the traditional space and the music industry as well. So, how have you found things and unique to Animal Concerts, and what have you found works in terms of partnership?
Well, yeah, I think we worked really, really hard to get some very big and extremely solid partnerships on board to prove kind of credibility. It's as simple as that. It's really, really important to have that. But, since then, I mean, I have dozens of calls every month with other companies, be it metaverses, NFT platforms, in the NFT and gaming space, et cetera, but I could announce it. But I think I really want to focus on quality over quality. I think the community just doesn't want to just see you bang out another dozen partnerships over the next couple of months unless they really mean something. I've got many continuing conversations on when the time is right we will announce it. But we just have to be a little bit careful about that. Clearly, it is important because it can bring a huge amount of value to what we're doing. And it's one of the things I love most about the crypto space is that, even you can find people who may be an almost direct competitor, but you'll find a way to work together because I think, like you say, the space is so nascent. It's so early. There's so much, to be done. And I think that's wonderful. But like the other thing about you said is that people are just looking for a joint socials announcement, and they just want your community to get to know them in the hope that it might help them grow. So you got to be a little bit careful about that. So I kind of would just reiterate that it's quality, not quantity, and it's putting in a partnership that's going to be actually utilized and will last, and isn't just going to be an announcement and fizzle out after that. That's what's important for me.
I'd like to add one thing that I think could be helpful reminder for people to evaluate. Sometimes we get lost in looking at numbers on whether a community partnering or collaborating with one community will bring eyeballs from the other. I think it's a lot simpler. It's when you connect with the team, whether it be the founder or the marketing team or whoever it is that you're talking to at a potential partner on the other side of a potential partnership, really think about who's on the other side and how the conversation is going and how you read the energy of the people. I think we often forget that the people behind these collections and communities and companies are the people that you're working with to create a successful partnership. Yes, it's their community, but it's them. And if something doesn't feel right, it's not going to go well. And I think that's a really important thing that we've thought through a lot, truly having the no asshole policy. And if something doesn't feel like it's respecting the way that we respect ourselves and our community, we don't do it. And I think that what has led us to a lot of very successful partnerships within Altered State Machine and our Futureverse ecosystem is we like to work with people that we like. And that always allows you to find something successful. If you start something and it's not going well, you're able to pivot because you like the people that you're talking to.
I love the no arsehole policy, by the way. I think that's going to be a life lesson for everyone here, not just one for partnerships and marketing. And the point is, I think with all of our projects as well, we will soon see copycats, and we will soon see those that can emulate or basically do similar things to what we're doing. And ultimately, it is people. I think we're seeing here. It's the teams. It's the relationships you have with other partners and projects. It's the relationship you have with your community. So I love everything you've said there, Shara, and agree. Simply put, it's about how you manage those relationships and people for sure. Jeff, do you have anything?
Yeah, one thing that Splinterlands has done a bunch of is make partnerships by accepting other communities' tokens. So, not just make it a, hey, we're going to work together, but hey, your currency is accepted here. So, part of Splinterlands, you come in and you buy card packs. Well, how do you spend money to buy those card packs? We accept fiat dollars, we accept cryptocurrency as payment, and then the question is, which payments will we accept? So, you can pay with a variety of 20s to go purchase card packs from us, and that's actually a way that seems to work pretty well to go bring in those other communities. What we do is we say something like, hey, look, we'll accept your currency for value, but you guys got to go market that to all your people, and that way everybody that's in the community of the token that we're accepting, it now has a new use case. You can go buy Splinterlands assets with it. Now you can play this game, so that's cool for them. It's good for us because it brings in this whole other financial network into the game. And then it also helps actually spread the word because now there's more people that are talking about it. So in terms of building partnerships, one thing that's been very successful for us is, adding their token as a payment in our payment processor. And that seems to join the communities pretty well.
And it's an added incentive, right? It means that there's more utility to their token and they can do more with it. Also, it makes it easier for their community as opposed to trying to buy into then Splinterlands in another way in terms of the native currency. So I'm sure people have got their pens out jotting that idea down for sure. Thank you, Jesse. Just moving away from this slightly, very thorough and comprehensive answers there, which is fantastic. I want to touch on something which is a bit tricky in the crypto space, and it's advertising. I'm sure we're all aware and have experienced that it's sometimes difficult on particular platforms or channels with bans or limits on what you can market and how you can market it. I just wanted to get thoughts, I suppose, on how to tackle that and where you see this going in the short to long term. Emin, is there anything from yourself or Jesse?
Yeah, I can say that we can make ads in Facebook, or we cannot in Twitter yet. We started it was blocked. We started in LinkedIn. It's important use the wording right, and not use the crypto and other related words. But overall, when you position yourself as a metaverse company, and which is like this, so it is important to direct the focus and attract the attention with positioning yourself as a metaverse, not as a crypto, and use less words regarding the crypto space in websites, in the ad copies, and everywhere. So yeah, that's what I can say. We don't do heavy ads because we work mainly with organically, and we have a unique model of user content generation. We make private parties, and private parties are run by influencers. They bring the most loyal audience, and they create unique content inside the event. They make selfies, they make group photos, and participants are sharing their content from the event. And since this content is unusual for many of the people, that attracts attention, and influencers are saying that they're getting a lot of questions from the people that what is it? I don't understand. Why your avatar doesn't look like you 100%, or some say that I like your dress. So there are critics, there are appraisals and different feedbacks that influencers are getting, and they're happy with that because they are coming up with something new, and they get extra people, extra followers. So everyone wins in this model, and we preferred going with bringing people inside the real product and motivating them to share real life content and getting the most authentic reactions and answering the questions one by one and creating this sincere atmosphere around all the process. So I would suggest all the startups going, communicating, building the communication strategy in a very strict cooperation with the product itself.
Sure. So I guess the key there is, if you are to go down the advertising route, is to be very kind of careful with your wording and ensure that you're aware of the kind of policies on the respective platforms. I do know this is opening up, and as more Web2 companies move into the space, this will become more free, and it will definitely be another avenue to go down. I wonder if anyone else here has experience of advertising Web3 products or projects in the space. It'd be great to get your thoughts, Colin, Jesse, or Shara.
I think we're at a really interesting inflection point where traditional digital advertising has not yet crossed over. And the reason why is because when we look at where digital advertising is, and I mean, I'm referring to like media buying digital advertising, like ads on the social platforms and across varying media, video and the like. I think that we've, as a society, we've come to kind of ignore a lot of it because we find it to be inauthentic. We're annoyed that we receive an ad in a place we don't want. We're annoyed when the ad is we're forced to look at it, and therefore we like play the ad and then we don't pay attention. And so the lack of inauthenticity from the spam of digital advertising over the last few years has put the audiences that are Web3 natives in a place where they just don't want to be spammed. Now, that's not going to exist forever. As the mainstream mass consumers really gravitate into what will become the metaverse, we'll need to reach them more traditionally. But I would say that digital advertising is not converting right now because of the lack of inauthenticity. And so I say that only because you have to then go back to the fundamentals that I mentioned earlier. You have to look at the ROI. Is spending advertising dollars where it's not converting to new consumers effective? No. So we have to use the forms of advertising that are working, and they're really based in storytelling. And so I think that that's a lot of the things we talked about earlier and throughout this space is we're just not going the traditional route right now. It's not here yet. If you are going to dabble in it, and we've seen definitely more on the game side, we've seen the use of traditional, and it will work more in gaming because we're used to seeing advertising come through those formats. You still have to go back to the fundamentals of storytelling. It has to be an engaging ad. It has to be something that isn't just buy my product, because no one ever bought something because they were told to buy something. They connected again with what they were buying and why they needed it.
Yeah, something just building on what you said is, don't expect ads to convert right away, and have a view and vision for what you're trying to achieve from that. It's about marketing and then remarketing and really understanding the goals for anything that you do in the space. And ads aren't unique in that, for sure. Definitely, I think we'll see more mainstream platforms start opening things up and trying to connect with the crypto and Web3 space. We're seeing it already. But I do agree with you that it takes some time to get to that stage and get to that space, because they want to be sure from a risk perspective as well, it's all being managed properly and appropriately. But some valid points there raised, Shara. Thank you. Jesse, do you have any thoughts around this topic at all, and have you dabbled in this?
Yeah, the traditional advertising has not been fantastic for us. It's frustrating because oftentimes, we'll go through the work of getting started on a new platform, put out ads, and all those ads will be denied. We've had to go to some pretty great lengths to be able to get even basic things on Google and YouTube and whatever else. And even when we do it, I haven't seen, a really easy path to mass adoption that way. So, I'm left with thinking that building good partnerships, building good brands, building good products, and really using community word of mouth is a much stronger approach than just getting some ads on Google. So, maybe as conditions change over time, or as our brand gets a little bigger and it's a little more recognized, it's easier to do that. But until then, I like keeping that money in the crypto community with partnerships and plans and product roadmaps rather than ads to Google.
Fantastic. Colin, or reps from Animal Contest, I wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, definitely. The thing is, we've mentioned that, and that is that this space is a very dynamic space. And you constantly see what works, what doesn't work, looking at what's effective, what's not. And you can literally see how there is a change, like from cycle to cycle, year after year, in what works, what doesn't work. Copycats for NFT projects were performing very well at the beginning. Now they have no audience at all. It's like just how the space changes. It's very dynamic. It changes very fast. And, those methods that may work at one day may not work another day. And you need to really have a really good eye on that. So we think what's most important thing is, building the network of connections, having valuable connections with people, using all different kinds of platforms that the crypto communities now use. I know Shara mentioned one thing, and it's really important, is that how convenient, for example, is Discord? Is Discord going to be there in the future? And maybe not, but now it's being used by every NFT project. So if you're targeting NFT communities, you need to have a place for them where something that they got used to. Crypto, you see crypto, it was booming on Telegram. And now you see like literally there's all kinds of scams and all kinds of spam as well on both Discord and Telegram. Scammers are targeting those audiences to lure in new people that are just joining the space and don't know those things, to kind of get them in. And those are things that ruin the experience for people. Now, there are measures to prevent it. You lock your DMs, you lock all forms of communication so that no one can reach out to you directly, but they still get affected, they still get hacked. It's still like we saw even Yuga Labs were affected by a hack, and a link was posted and people got scammed. So it is kind of risky. There's still no one place that we can say this is the perfect environment for crypto. But we still see that use of social platforms and connecting with the communities, along with building partnerships, valuable partnerships, having the connections with people, being transparent with the community, communicating, being present for the community, supporting the community, having someone to reply to every concern, having someone to connect with the communities. Those are the most important things, and where investment needs to go, because the traditional marketing methods really don't work. Like whenever I see an advertisement, at one period of time, I was seeing NFT project advertisements on Instagram stories all the time. And actually, most of them were scams. So there was some kind of possibility to advertise scams and put fake projects that will steal your wallets on both Facebook and Instagram. And I think a lot of people went through that experience. They tried to follow hype. They thought it's legit. they went with it and they lost money, and then they stopped. So it became kind of a bad experience for people to go into that direction. And then you can see like influencer marketing was working on Twitter for a while, until those influencers started selling literally everything, and people had a lot of bad experiences with rug pulls, so they stopped listening to those influencers. And you can see the dynamic is always changing, and we really need to keep an eye on what's happening. What are the crypto communities, NFT communities looking for? What are they moving to? I believe in the near future, we'll see those metaverses being used as community hubs, as headquarters for communities to interact with each other, have genuine talk, voice calls, text chats within the communities with people that are active in those metaverses. So that may be one use that we will see happening in the future for metaverses.
Sure, and I mean, in my opinion, the metaverse is just a new frontier for where social media is going. In any case, I think just cycling back to ads and more traditional methods, it seems as though we're all in agreement about the difficulty and the effectiveness for now. I'm sure it will change, and something that's been a theme from all of your responses is to keep light on your toes, to be prepared to pivot, to test what works and what doesn't. I think is fundamental. But ultimately, the other part is around how important community and partnership is within the Web3 space, and to really hone in and curate those relationships in the right way. So some very insightful comments there, and thanks for touching on the measures to prevent scams as well. I think that's interesting and important for any of the listeners here. I'd like to jump into then, I suppose, off the back of this, what the most innovative campaigns or ideas have been, or that you've seen so far, either from your companies and projects or anything else within the space. Shara, please, if you've got any thoughts from that.
Yeah, sure. I also want to give a shout out to our Futureverse Fluff World Altered State Machine community that's in here. I see some of the OGs showing up, and so appreciate that. I think that on the campaign question, I would say I think the best campaigns are just not campaigns. They're lore. They start with backstory on your characters, and giving your community something to engage with is the best way to create marketing. It truly is storytelling. If you tell people more about the characters, the art, the narrative, where it's headed, where it came from, that's what they want to hear and understand, because that's how you build a world. And I think when we talk about Web3 and the metaverse, we're building the new world. And I think that that's just a theme that we all need to stand on, because any campaign comes from a great understanding of product.
Absolutely. So is there anything as one that really has stood out to you, a very unique idea or campaign that you've seen in the space? Shara or anyone else, actually. Emin, I can see you've unmuted there.
Yeah, I would like to add one great experience that we recently did experiment. We created a special group, First Movers, and out of big community, we selected those people who are sharing professional feedbacks, and we created. We brought out those people to that special group, and in this group we are mainly talking about the product that we are building. They became our first testers in alpha launch, and we are personally talking with each of these people who are joining, and we created a new concept, First Mover 100. We are giving special badges to first 100 people who test our platform and share feedbacks. So it worked really well. And we said that these 100 badges will be effective in the game, in the process, in the metaverse itself. So you will only the first 100 people will have it, and we will give extra privileges and a reward system for you. Uh, Feeling special and being part of the co-creation process is when it is done in productively is really wanted by the industry experts. People love this, and so I can share this, and they are these people are becoming our first users, first movers, and they are generating really high quality content, giving really valuable feedbacks, shaping our strategy.
For sure, for sure. An important part there you've mentioned is supporting early movers, and I mean Shara's testament to it even here, shouting out some OGs from the ASM community. So I want to double down on that too. We have got Saeed here, our CEO, so shout out to him as well, and Vesa, who's a big NFT artist in the space and is improving his name for sure day by day, that we work closely with. So, Shara, that was perfect timing in terms of shouting out kind of early movers and OGs in the space as well. Colin, did you have anything to add there in terms of innovative campaigns or ideas and tips and advice around that?
The only one that comes to mind that I thought was interesting was the guys putting QR codes around the place and people picking them up and getting to familiar with the project, which was fantastic right up until scammers started using them and stealing their wallets. So I definitely wouldn't advise that one. No, I mean, look, I just think that, using NFTs has been really cool. Some people have done it really well, but ultimately it all just boils back down to how you motivate and grow your community, like we talked about earlier. There aren't really any shortcuts in this game. You gotta do the hard grunt work, I suppose.
For sure. And Jesse, last but not least on this one, I mean, you've got an incredible community and a lot has been going on there. So I'm sure in your years you've seen some great initiatives in the space or have been involved in some yourself.
I've been trying to think about this for the past 5 minutes and think through like, hey, what is the most successful individual campaign or something? And ultimately, to me, it's the alignment of getting everybody's personal incentives going. The thing that helped us grow the most was when we launched a governance token, and instead of us, saying we will dictate the future of this game forever, we said, hey, we are building a fully decentralized game, and you, the community, will be the ones that will make decisions and decide the fate of this thing ultimately. And in so doing, they had a financial stake in the platform. They had a governance stake in the platform. And when we did that, that provided more growth than anything else we've done in company history. So, I've had the privilege of listening to Lou Kerner speak a bunch. He's a guy that created Crypto Mondays. And, he always talks about how giving to the community and they'll give back. And I think it's right. You do as much as you can to go help your community grow, and it'll grow because you're pouring your heart and soul into this thing and providing financial tools, and there's financial reasons and social reasons and value and assets and whatever else is part of this community. The trick to me is really get tokens in the hands of lots of people, give those tokens utility and value, and a lot of other parts will start like fixing themselves or growing themselves. Because if you own a token that can actually do something that's fun or has utility or function or a promising future, those are the kinds of things that lots of people want to be involved in, and you'll have a whole army of people that are willing to advocate for you and your project, especially if you as a founder are acting like a good steward.
For sure. And what you say here is actually, we've touched on this in terms of relationships and people kind of being influencers. Ultimately, a good and happy community become influencers in their own right when they tell friends, when they speak to other people, when they go into other channels to promote kind of good projects that they've seen. So it's fundamental and key to make sure you add value to them, and NFT utility is certainly something which is an important one, especially in the NFT space for sure. I'm conscious of time here, but I do have just one last question for you all, or well, a combo of questions. But if you were to give one single piece of advice to projects that have just started and are looking to launch their first marketing campaign, what would that be? And I think an addendum to that is, would you have done anything differently if you had to start over? Emin, we can start with you on this one.
The first advice would be create comprehensive educational content. I think this is very crucial for metaverse projects, and many people have interest, but they really need education. And getting education, the first education about metaverse from your company makes the company position itself in the minds of the people as a first mover, and it is very easy then to bring this person to the community. And if the rest of the funnel is built correctly, you can convert this person to your influencer, organic influencer, and they would be your investors. And since they invested, they would promote you and do best for you to grow. So educational content is the first and the most important thing, I believe.
Fantastic. Thanks, Emin. Shara, do you have anything to build on that, or from your experience, a word of advice, I guess?
I think that was an amazing answer. I just want to comment on that because that was what I was going to say on a bit on the educational side, which is I would say the best advice I could give to anyone that's launching a community is get rid of your own ego so that you stop thinking that it's great to be bullish on what you're doing. But if you're too bullish on what you're doing, then you don't know how to explain it to your community in a way that will understand, especially when there's technical components to what we're building here. It's very complicated, and you need to continuously rework your messaging and your positioning to ask yourself, is it simple enough? Are people who could look at my project able to walk away and understand exactly what I'm trying to achieve? And sometimes that begins with asking yourself why you're doing what you're doing. And I know that's a bit of a philosophical answer, but I think sometimes a lot of this can be really overwhelming. And the best way to break through what feels really overwhelming is to keep focusing on why you're doing it. And if you're explaining your why to your audience, that's the best way to start. And I think if we look back, and we constantly look back and say, when we put out this new component of our ecosystem, whether it be a mining component of what we're doing, that's complex. And so we constantly look and say, what did our community not understand the intention around or behind? And we make sure that we go into the community and that we're available to hear and understand so that we could do better in explaining it next time.
Yeah, 100%. And I think sometimes we take for granted how much we do know. And with it being such a new and nascent industry, education is key. And what seems simple to us who working in it for years, or been working and talking behind the scenes on a particular new feature, function, product offering, whatever it may be, may seem second nature. So it's definitely about trying to simplify things, trying to get the community educated. And Shara, another thing that you've said, which is fantastic, is making sure you're on hand in the community to hear responses, to collect those, to create lessons learned, to to really make sure you're then hitting home the next time you deliver a message, or even filling in any gaps on the message you have just delivered. So super important there for sure, and pretty much echo everything both Emin and yourself have said there. Colin, do you have anything in terms of one killer word of advice? I know it's hard to consolidate it down.
I think most of it's been said already. I mean, from my
Sure.
own personal experience, I suppose it's just, you know, having really good advisors, making sure that you're making the right decisions at the right time based on, you know, how quickly this market moves, the right, you know, partners that you're dealing with, and just constant networking in the space. I mean, I think we all do it all the time. We're constantly on calls and meeting people. Understanding what's working, what's not, who's having success, and what's the latest thing in the market, to be, you know, at the forefront of this, because it is a ferociously fast moving industry, and you need to make sure that, you know, what you're putting out there is getting traction at the time, because it is very easy to waste money.
Absolutely. And I think everyone's been guilty of doing it at one time or another, for sure. Thanks, Colin. Jesse, again, last but not least, it'd be great to hear your thought.
And you know, it's hard to think about what would I do differently and what's fundamentally different, because it's something like, you know, we as a group tried to make the best decisions with the assets and the information that we had at the time. You know, I miss selling at the highs, but you don't always know when they're the highs. I wish I could buy better at the lows, and you don't always know when the lows are. So, you know, it's kind of like we just try to do the very best we can and use whatever information we have to make smart decisions. Rather than say what I wish I would changed, I guess I would say the thing that I really like that we do is when we plan our budgets and how we're going to function as a business, we try to be incredibly conservative. You know, lots of money can come in at any given moment into the crypto space, but lots of money can leave it too. And so part of why we can be here as a business and have been doing this for 4 years is, you know, when we get cash in the door, we're not, you know, like spending it flagrantly and just living it up and buying yachts and all this other dumb crap that we see from some other projects. You know, we just try to be conservative, keep our heads down, and build. And you know, we're here after 4 years, and a lot of projects in this space haven't made it that way. So, you know, it might feel silly, but the piece of advice I would give is, you know, at the times that you are experiencing success, that's a time to like squirrel those nuts away. That's not a time to like go ballistic. You know, the bubble will pop, the crypto will come back down. You're going to have another year where it's going to be a rough time to build. You know, you take the wins when you get them, and you know, I'd encourage very conservative planning. And so that's what I would do rather than what I regret, because it's kept us here for year after year.
Living with no regrets is good as well. So if you ever do find the silver bullet to selling at the top and buying at the bottom, then please DM me right away. But I think you bring up some good points there, and it builds on what Shara said earlier, which is one step at a time and building for longevity, and just adding to what you said, this is a cyclical asset class, and crypto will have its ups and downs just like any other asset in the world, and preparing for that is prudent, and definitely something that all projects should pay attention to. And there we have it, some fascinating answers. Thank you all, Shara from ASM, Emin from Metafluence, Jesse Splinterlands, and Colin from Animal Concerts. It's genuinely been a pleasure. I've enjoyed this, and it's been super insightful. I hope you've all enjoyed it too, and I hope everyone that's listened in has. We will be sharing out some more information on all of the projects here, and their socials, and making sure that we get a write-up and video out to listen into if you haven't been fortunate enough to be here today. So again, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to all of the communities here from Animal Concerts, Altered State Machine, Metafluence, and Splinterlands, and some amazing communities they are, as well as Sheesha, of course. So see you on the next one, and have a fantastic day.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining us. Take care.
Bye-bye.